The year was 2157. Humans had built homes on Mars, Europa, and large rocks in space. Earth was still the main place where most humans lived, but people were starting to think of the whole solar system as their home. Captain Jun Kim sat in the command chair of his ship, the EDF Horizon. It was a normal day for the Earth Defense Force patrol near Neptune. The blue planet loomed large on his view screen as his crew worked at their stations. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings," said Officer Tay, looking up from her sensor panel. Her eyes were wide. "What kind of readings?" June asked, standing up from his chair. "Something is opening in space. About 50,000 kilometers ahead." June looked at the main screen. At first, he saw nothing but stars and the distant glow of Neptune. Then a small point of light appeared. It grew larger, becoming a tear in the fabric of space itself. Through this tear came a massive ship, unlike anything humans had ever built. It was shaped like a giant diamond, with a surface that seemed to shift colors as it moved. "Battle stations," June ordered calmly, though his heart was racing. "Send. Alert to EDF Command. First contact protocol." The alien ship was enormous, at least 20 times the size of the largest human vessel. It hung in space for several minutes, seemingly studying the much smaller human patrol ship. Then a message came through on all frequencies, in perfect English. "People of Earth, we bring greetings from the Galactic Council, the United Government, of 47 intelligent species across the Milky Way. We request a meeting with your world leaders." Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. An alien ship had appeared. They wanted to talk. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, the answer had arrived in dramatic fashion. World leaders gathered in Geneva, Switzerland, for the historic meeting. The United Nations Assembly Hall was packed with presidents, prime ministers, and military leaders. Defense Minister Hana Park of Korea sat in the front row, her face serious while others around her seemed excited. Transport ship landed outside the UN building. From it emerged the alien ambassador, a tall being that looked like it was made of purple crystal. It walked with a strange grace, its body catching the light and breaking it into beautiful patterns. "I am Ambassador Krell," the being said, its voice deep and calm. "I represent the Galactic Council, which has governed most of our galaxy for over 50,000 years. The room was completely silent as Krell explained that the Council had been watching Earth for centuries. They had seen humans develop from simple farmers to space travelers. Now that humans had started to move beyond Earth, the Council had decided it was time to make contact. "We invite humanity to join our galactic community," Krell said. The room broke into applause and cheers, but Krell raised a hand for silence. "There are, however, conditions." The cheering stopped as Krell listed the Council's terms. "Humans must take apart all their military forces. They must share all their technology. They must accept Council rule in all things. These terms are non-negotiable," Krell finished. "The Council has found these measures necessary for the peaceful integration of young species." The UN Secretary-General stood up. "Ambassador Krell, while we are honored by your invitation, these terms would require much discussion among our people. We request time to consider." Krell's crystal form seemed to darken slightly. "You may have 1 Earth month to decide. We will wait at the edge of your solar system for your answer." As the alien left the hall, worried whispers filled the room. Defense Minister Hana Park watched with narrow eyes. When the emergency meeting of world leaders began afterward, she was the first to speak. "This is not an invitation," she said firmly. "It is a demand for surrender." Some leaders argued with her. The aliens had advanced technology. They could help solve Earth's problems. The Council had maintained peace for thousands of years. "Peace through control," Hana countered. "They want us to give up our ability to defend ourselves before they reveal their true intentions." For the next week, debate raged across Earth. Would joining the Council bring a golden age for humanity, or would it mean the end of human freedom? Hana worked day and night, convincing key nations to prepare for the worst. Secret military bases began increasing production of weapons and ships. Scientists worked to improve Earth's defenses. Captain June Kim was called back from Neptune to lead a special training program. His experience as the first human to see the alien ship made him valuable. He taught other captains what little he had learned about the alien vessel. Their technology is far beyond ours, he told a room full of officers. But they seemed surprised when we didn't immediately run or attack. That tells me something important. They think they understand us. But they don't. That might be our only advantage. 29 days after the meeting in Geneva, Earth's leaders delivered their response. They wished to join the galactic community, but as equals, not subjects. They proposed a 50-year period of gradual integration. Ambassador Krell received the message on his ship. His crystalline face showed no emotion as he responded, "Your answer has been transmitted to the Council." That night, Defense Minister Hana couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of her Seoul apartment looking at the stars. Her phone rang at 3:17 a.m. "Minister Park," said a tense voice. "Multiple space-time ruptures detected around Earth, Mars, and all our colonies. Hundreds of ships are coming through." Hana closed her eyes briefly. "So they've made their decision. Alert all defense forces. Initiate evacuation protocol Alpha. I'm on my way." As she rushed to get dressed, a message played on all screens and devices across Earth. Ambassador Krell's voice was no longer friendly. "People of Earth, the Galactic Council has considered your response. Your species has been deemed too dangerous for inclusion. The Council has voted for containment. This is not a war. This is a correction." The first attacks hit military bases around the world. Energy beams that passed through walls like they weren't there. Missiles that seemed to bend space around them. Fields that made buildings crumble to dust in seconds. The Galactic Council had attacked humans, and as Defense Minister Hana Park had feared, they had no intention of welcoming humanity as equals. Earth's worst nightmare had begun. But the Council was about to discover something they hadn't counted on. When pushed to the edge of extinction, humans didn't surrender. They fought back. The sky above Seoul burned orange and red. Defense Minister Hana Park watched from the underground command center as alien ships moved through Earth's atmosphere. It had been 6 hours since the first attack, and already the world had changed. Forever. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite her fear. 30 major cities under attack," replied General G. "Most military bases destroyed in the first wave. Mars colony is gone. Europa base not responding. We've lost contact with most of our space forces." Hana looked at the large screen showing the planet. Red dots marked attack sites. There were so many dots that parts of the map looked solid red. "What about civilian evacuations?" "Moving slowly. Too many people. Not enough time." A young officer approached with a tablet. "Minister, we've received a message from Captain June Kim. His ship survived. He's hiding near Neptune and sending us data on the enemy fleet." Hana took the tablet. This was the first good news in hours. Captain Kim had been smart enough to stay hidden when the attack began. His message contained valuable information about the Council ships. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a section of data. "The attack pattern is strange. They're destroying our buildings, our technology, our military, but they're careful not to harm the natural environment. They're not bombing forests or oceans." General G frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means they don't want to destroy Earth. They want to remove us from it." At that moment, the building shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The aliens had found them. "We need to move," Hana ordered. "Get everyone to the backup site." As they rushed through underground tunnels, Hana's mind raced. The Council ships were too powerful to fight directly. But there had to be a way. There always was. Far away. Near. The blue planet Neptune, Captain June Kim watched his sensor screens. His ship, the EDF Horizon, was hiding in Neptune's shadow. From here, he could observe the massive fleet of Council ships without being seen. 200 ships, whispered Officer Tay beside him. "How can we fight so many?" June had no answer. He had watched helplessly as Mars colony was destroyed. The aliens had used some kind of field that made the buildings age hundreds of years in minutes. The domes had cracked, The air had escaped, and everyone inside had died. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "we're picking up signals from other human ships, survivors like us." June straightened in his chair. "How many?" 15 vessels so far, mostly small patrol ships and a few cargo vessels that were far from Earth when the attack began. It wasn't much, but it was something. June made a decision. Send them a coded message. Tell them to meet us at the hidden base in the Kuiper Belt. We're not giving up this fight. On Earth, the situation grew worse by the hour. The Council forces had landed ground troops, strange machines that walked on 6 legs, carrying aliens inside clear bubbles on top. They moved through the ruins of cities hunting for humans, but something unexpected was happening. The aliens were facing resistance. In Seoul, Tokyo, New York, and 100 other places, humans fought back with whatever weapons they had left. In what remained of London, a small group of soldiers had discovered something important. Lieutenant Sung led his team through the rubble toward a downed alien walker. The machine had been caught in the collapse of a building. "Careful," Sung warned as they approached. "We don't know if it's still active." The clear bubble on top had cracked. Inside, they could see the alien pilot, a creature with blue skin and 4 arms. It wasn't moving. Sung ordered his team to study the machine. They needed to understand how it worked if they were going to have any chance of fighting back. In space, one small human ship faced 3 Council vessels near the moon. The human ship was the EDF Defiant, commanded by Captain Yuna Lee. They were outgunned and had no chance of winning. "Target their weapons array," Yuna ordered, her face grim. Her weapons officer looked at her in shock. "Captain, we can't destroy their weapons. Our missiles aren't strong enough." "We're not going to shoot the weapons," Yuna replied. "We're going to ram them." The officer stared at her, understanding what she meant. "It would be a suicide mission. For Earth," Yuna said quietly. The Defiant turned and accelerated directly toward the lead Council ship. The alien vessel fired, damaging the human ship, but couldn't stop its approach. At the last moment, the Defiant turned slightly, aiming for the large opening where the Council ship's main weapon protruded. The impact was massive. Both ships exploded in a ball of light. The other 2 Council vessels moved back, seemingly surprised by what had happened. This scene repeated itself. Across the solar system, human ships hopelessly outmatched performed actions that the Council forces didn't expect. Suicide ramming attacks, using civilian ships as bait to draw enemies into traps, turning off all power to drift past enemy sensors. In the Council command, ship Ambassador Krell received reports of these battles. His crystalline form flickered with concern. "This resistance is stronger than predicted," he said to the Council leaders through a communication link. "Humans are using tactics that our simulations didn't anticipate." "Explain," demanded the Council. "High Commander, they sacrifice themselves deliberately. They use damaged vessels as weapons. They ignore standard military protocols." "Irrelevant," the High Commander replied. "Their resistance is mathematically futile. Continue the containment operation." But Krell wasn't so sure. Something about these humans was different from other species the Council had contained in the past. They didn't retreat when outmatched. They didn't surrender when defeat was certain. Instead, they fought harder, became more creative, more willing to die if it meant taking even one enemy with them. Back on Earth, 3 weeks into the war, Hannah Park led the remains of her staff through a forest. Their second command center had been destroyed, and now they were moving to a 3rd location, a facility built inside a mountain. "Minister," said her aide, "we've received reports that the aliens are setting up some kind of base in Australia. They're bringing in large equipment." Hannah nodded. "They're preparing for a long operation. They expected us to surrender by now." "Will we?" asked the aide quietly. Hannah stopped walking and turned to face her staff. Though tired and dirty from weeks of running, her eyes were fierce. "No," she said firmly. "We will not surrender. We will find their weakness. We will adapt. We will survive. And then, we will win." At that moment, unknown to Hannah, scientists in a hidden Antarctic base were making a discovery that would change the course of the war. And Captain June Kim was gathering his small fleet of survivors, preparing for a counterattack that the Galactic Council would never forget. The Council's worst nightmare was only beginning to unfold. The Antarctic wind howled outside the hidden research base. Inside, deep beneath the ice, scientist Min Lee stood in front of a damaged alien device. Her team had recovered it from a Council ship that crashed near New Zealand 3 weeks ago. "Try it again," Min said to her assistant. "Increase the power slowly." The alien device hummed and glowed with blue light. Min watched carefully as data flowed across her computer screen. She had been studying the device for days, trying to understand how it worked. Suddenly, Min's eyes widened. "Stop. Hold it at that level." She stared at the screen, her heart racing. "Look at this pattern. It's not responding to our direct commands. It's responding to our shared intent." Her assistant looked confused. "What do you mean?" "The Council technology is designed for group thinking," Min explained. "It works best when multiple beings think the same thought together. That's why our individual commands confuse it." Min stepped back from the device, her mind racing with ideas. The Council species must think collectively, almost like hive minds. That would explain so much about their tactics, their ships, their weapons. She grabbed her tablet and began typing quickly. "We need to tell Minister Park right away. This could be the key to fighting back." Far away in the Kuiper Belt beyond the orbit of Pluto, Captain June Kim had gathered a small fleet of surviving human ships. 17 vessels in total, hiding among the icy bodies at the edge of the solar system. On board his ship, the EDF Horizon, June met with Dr. Sue Park, an AI specialist who had escaped from the moon base before it was destroyed. "I've been studying their communication signals," Sue explained, showing June her computer. "The Council ships talk to each other constantly, sharing huge amounts of data." June frowned. "Can we understand what they're saying?" "Not exactly, but I've noticed something." "Interesting," Sue pointed to a pattern on her screen. "Their systems are incredibly complex, but they follow very rigid rules. There's no randomness, no creativity in how they process information." "And that helps us how?" June asked. Sue smiled for the first time in weeks. "It means they're vulnerable to a very specific kind of attack, one that exploits their linear thinking." She explained that she had created a program that could insert false data into Council communications. The program used a pattern that seemed logical, but contained a hidden flaw that would spread through their systems. "It's like a virus that only infects perfectly ordered minds," Sue said. "Our messy human thinking would spot the flaw immediately, but their rigid logic won't see it coming." June looked at the small program on Sue's computer. Didn't look like much, but if she was right, it could change the course of the war. "How do we deliver it?" he asked. "We need to get close to one of their communication relays," Sue replied. "Very close." On Earth, the war had entered its 3rd month. Major cities were in ruins. Billions of people were hiding in remote areas, underground bunkers, or dense forests. The Council had established bases across the planet and controlled most of the infrastructure, but they didn't control the people. Defense Minister Hannah Park moved through the ruins of a small town in what used to be Canada. She wore simple clothes to blend in with the refugees. With her was a small team of trusted soldiers and advisors. "The resistance cells are growing stronger," reported Colonel Tay, one of her officers. "We're hitting their supply lines, disrupting their communications, and gathering their technology." Hannah nodded. "What about the Council ground forces? The reports I've been getting are strange." "They're struggling," Colonel Tay said. "Their weapons are incredibly advanced, but they're designed for large-scale battles, not this kind of fighting." Hannah had noticed the same thing. The Council forces seemed confused by human resistance tactics. They expected humans to gather large armies and fight in open spaces where the Council's superior weapons would win easily. Instead, humans fought in small groups, using the ruins of their cities as cover, attacking quickly and then disappearing. "They don't understand us," Hannah said quietly. That night, Hannah received an encrypted message from Antarctica. As she read Min Lee's report about the Council's collective thinking, Everything started to make sense. They think as one, she told her team afterward. That's why they can't adapt to our individual actions. Every human fighter makes their own choices, thinks their own thoughts. The Council can't predict what we'll do because we don't even know ourselves until the moment comes. For the first time since the war began, Hannah felt real hope. Humans had a strength the Council didn't understand. Individual thinking, creativity born from struggle, the ability to make impossible choices when facing death. In the Council's Central Command ship, Ambassador Krell faced an unusual situation. The High Command had called an emergency meeting, something that had not happened in thousands of years. The containment operation is not proceeding as expected, said the High Commander, its crystalline form pulsing with dark colors. Multiple ground units report unexpected resistance patterns. 7 ships have been lost to tactically irrational attacks. Another council member spoke up. These humans do not follow logical battle protocols. They sacrifice individual units without mathematical justification. They use primitive weapons alongside advanced ones. Their actions cannot be predicted by our models. Krell had seen this himself. He had watched recordings of human fighters charging directly at Council forces with nothing but simple projectile weapons. He had seen a human pilot crash their damaged ship into a Council vessel rather than retreat. He had seen small groups of humans using Council technology in ways its creators had never imagined. Perhaps, Krell suggested carefully, our assessment of this species was incomplete. The High Commander turned to Krell, crystal facets flashing with anger. The containment protocol has never failed in 50,000 years. It will not fail now. Increase the deployment of forces. Authorize the use of Class II weapons. Krell knew that arguing would be pointless. The Council had contained 47 species before humans. The pattern had always been the same. Initial resistance, then acceptance of defeat, followed by controlled reduction of the population to manageable levels. But humans weren't following the pattern. And now the Council was about to use weapons that could cause massive destruction to Earth's surface, something they had been careful to avoid until now. As Krell left the meeting, he wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake in attacking this species. Back in the Kuiper Belt, Captain June Kim gathered the captains of his small fleet. He showed them Dr. Sue Park's plan to attack a Council communication relay near Saturn. This is extremely dangerous, he told them honestly. Many of us won't return, but if Dr. Park is right, this could give Earth a fighting chance. One of the captains, an older man with gray hair, spoke up. My ship is the oldest and slowest. We'll draw their attention while the others deliver the program. Another captain nodded. My crew and I volunteer to be the delivery vessel. We can get closest before they detect us. June looked at their faces. Tired, afraid, but determined. In that moment, he understood something important about humans, something the Council had never grasped. Humans were at their strongest when things seemed hopeless. When backed into a corner, they didn't give up. They fought harder, thought faster, took greater risks. The Council had attacked humans expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had awakened humanity's most powerful quality, the absolute refusal to accept defeat. And now, their worst nightmare was about to get much worse. 6 months had passed since the Council's first attack. Earth was a changed planet. Cities lay in ruins. Billions of people lived in hiding. Council ships patrolled the skies. But today, something was different. Today, humans were fighting back. Captain June Kim stood on the bridge of his ship, the EDF Horizon. Around him, 16 other human vessels moved into formation. They had been hiding and planning for months. Now it was time for Operation Phoenix to begin. All ships report ready, said Officer Tay, looking up from her station. June nodded. Send the signal to Earth teams, begin the operation. His small fleet moved toward Saturn, where a massive Council communication relay hung in space. This relay connected the Council ships in the solar system to their home fleet. It was heavily guarded by 5 large warships. Enemy ships detecting. Out-eyed Officer Tay reported. They're moving to intercept. Just as we planned, June said calmly. Decoy group, begin your run. 4 human ships broke from the formation. racing directly toward the Council vessels. They were older ships, slower, but with powerful weapons. Their job was to draw attention away from the main attack. Meanwhile, on Earth, Defense Minister Hannah Park watched her tablet as signals came in from resistance cells around the world. Each green dot represented a team ready to attack. There were hundreds of dots. "Send the go code," she ordered. All teams attack simultaneously. Across Earth, human fighters emerged from hiding. They attacked Council ground forces, bases, and supply lines. In the ruins of Berlin, fighters used stolen Council weapons against their creators. In the forests of Brazil, resistance teams destroyed Council sensor arrays. In the mountains of Japan, humans used simple explosives to trigger landslides that buried alien outposts. The Council forces were caught by surprise. They had grown used to fighting scattered, uncoordinated human groups. This global attack was something new. In Antarctica, scientist Min Lee activated her modified version of the Council's time acceleration technology. She had spent months studying the captured device, learning how it worked and how to change it. "Targeting Council ground forces," she said to her team. "Activate on my mark." The device hummed to life. Unlike the Council's version, which affected buildings and machinery, Min's version targeted living tissue only. When activated, it would cause Council soldiers to age rapidly, their bodies unable to handle the temporal distortion. "Mark, Min," said. The device pulsed. Across Earth, Council ground troops suddenly found their bodies aging years in minutes. Their commanders couldn't understand what was happening as their soldiers grew old and died before their eyes. In space near Saturn, the battle was intense. The 4 decoy ships fought bravely, drawing the Council warships away from the relay. They knew this was likely a one-way mission. "Now, Dr. Park," June ordered over the comm. Dr. Sue Park sat in a small, fast ship that had been specially modified for this mission. As the Council warships chased the decoys, her vessel slipped past their defenses, heading straight for the communication relay. "Beginning transmission," she said, activating her program. The small ship sent out a signal that matched Council communications. But hidden within it was Sue's special code, a virus designed to exploit the rigid, logical thinking of the Council's systems. The relay accepted the signal, seeing it as normal traffic. The virus spread quickly through the Council's network, creating subtle errors that multiplied. Soon, Council ships began receiving false information. Their weapons targeted friendly vessels. Their navigation systems showed enemies where there were none. "It's working," Sue reported, watching the confusion spread among the Council fleet. On his ship, June saw the moment when the Council vessels began firing on each other. It was the opening they needed. "All ships, attack the relay," he ordered. The OI, human fleet converged on the massive relay. Their weapons, weak compared to Council technology, were now more than enough to damage the confused and vulnerable structure. The relay exploded in a burst of light. When the flash faded, the Council ships near Saturn were drifting, their systems corrupted by Sue's virus. For the first time, humans had won a major battle against the Council. But June knew this was just the beginning. "Search the debris," he ordered. "Find what we came for." His team located what they were looking for, a largely intact, faster-than-light drive from one of the damaged Council ships. With this technology, humans could finally travel beyond their solar system. They could take the fight to the Council itself. On Earth, Hannah Park received the news of the space battle with grim satisfaction. The coordinated attacks had succeeded beyond her expectations. Council forces were retreating from many areas, confused by the virus in their systems and the sudden, overwhelming resistance. "What's our next step?" asked Colonel Tay, who had become her most trusted officer. "We push them further," Hannah replied. "Now that we know their weaknesses, we exploit them everywhere. And we prepare for Phase 2. Phase 2 was something only a few people knew about, a plan to take the war beyond Earth to strike at the heart of the Council itself. In the Council headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a black hole at the galaxy's center, an emergency session had been called. This was unprecedented. The full council had not met in emergency session for over 10,000 years. Ambassador Krell stood before the gathered leaders, his crystal form dim with concern. "The containment operation has failed," he reported. "Human resistance has not only continued but grown stronger. They have adapted our technology for their own use. They have corrupted our systems with an information attack we cannot fully counter." The chamber erupted in angry voices. This was impossible. No species had ever resisted containment successfully. "How can this be?" demanded the High Commander. "They are technologically primitive. Their weapons are centuries behind ours. Their ships are small and weak." "Those facts are correct," Krell replied, "but incomplete. What we failed to understand is their adaptability. Humans learn at an incredible rate. They think individually but act together when needed. They use our technology in ways we never considered." Another council member, Admiral Xerix, rose to speak. "There is only one solution. We must use the forbidden weapons, destroy their planet completely." Many council members nodded in agreement. Extreme measures were now justified. But before they could vote, an aide rushed into the chamber. "High Commander, urgent news. Human vessels have been detected at the edge of council space. They have faster-than-light capability." Silence fell over the chamber. This changed everything. If humans could travel between stars, they could no longer be contained to their home system. "How many vessels?" the High Commander asked. "Just 3. Small ships." Some council members relaxed slightly. 3 ships posed no threat to the vast council fleet. But Krell was not reassured. "You still don't understand," he said. 3 ships today. How many tomorrow? How many in a month? Humans don't think like us. 3 ships means they've mastered the technology. More will follow." Admiral Xerix spoke again. "Then we must strike now. Send the entire home fleet to Earth. Destroy the planet before more humans can escape." The council voted. The decision was made. The home fleet, 3,000 warships, would depart immediately for Earth. They would end the human threat once and for all. But as Krell left the chamber, he wondered if even this would be enough. In just 6 months, humans had gone from near defeat to striking back effectively. They had adapted council technology, found weaknesses no one else had discovered in thousands of years. The council's worst nightmare was coming true. They had attacked a species unlike any they had encountered before, and now that species was coming for them. 1 year had passed since the Galactic Council first attacked Earth. 1 year of destruction, resistance, adaptation, and finally, counterattack. The massive Council space station hung against the backdrop of the galaxy's central black hole. It was an enormous structure, home to representatives of 47 species that made up the Galactic Council. For 50,000 years, it had been the center of power in the Milky Way. Today, it faced something it had never seen before. 20 human ships approached the station, led by the EDF Horizon. The ships were a mix of original Earth vessels and captured council craft, modified with human improvements. They were outnumbered by the council ships guarding the station, but they flew with confidence. On the bridge of the lead ship, Captain June Kim stood tall. Beside him was Defense Secretary Hannah Park, who had been Earth's resistance leader and was now its chief diplomat. "They're hailing us," reported Officer Tay. "Put them through," Hannah said. The face of Ambassador Krell appeared on the main screen. The crystalline being's facets flickered with surprise when he saw humans commanding the approaching fleet. "You were invited to this station to discuss surrender terms," Krell said. "Your presence in command vessels is unexpected." Hannah stepped forward. "We're not here to surrender, Ambassador. We're here to negotiate the terms of a new relationship between Earth and the Galactic Council." Krell's crystal form darkened. "The Council does not negotiate with contained species." "Look outside your station," June said quietly. "The situation has changed." Throughout Council space, human forces had spread rapidly over the past 3 months. Using the faster-than-light drives they had captured and copied, human ships now controlled key points throughout Council territory. Dr. Sue Park's virus had infected most Council systems, giving humans backdoor access to their networks. Min Li's modified weapons could target Council leaders themselves if needed. But most importantly, the Council's massive home fleet, sent to destroy Earth, had never arrived. It had been met by just 50 human ships near a red dwarf star halfway to Earth. Those human vessels had deployed a new weapon based on Council technology that created a temporary black hole. 3,000 Council warships had been pulled in, trapped in a space where time moved differently. They would emerge eventually, but not for decades. "We will speak with the full Council," Hana said firmly. "Today." An hour later, Hana Park stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. Around her, representatives of 47 species sat in rising tiers of seats. Some looked like walking plants. Others were clouds of gas in containment suits. Some resembled insects or reptiles. All watched the human with mixtures of fear, anger, and curiosity. "1 year ago," Hana began, "you attacked our world without provocation. You expected us to fall easily, to be contained like the other species you've conquered. That was your first mistake." She walked slowly around the center of the chamber, making eye contact with various council members. "Your second mistake was failing to understand what humans are. You saw our technology and thought we were primitive. You saw our divisions and thought we were weak. What you didn't see was our greatest strength, our adaptability." The High Commander, a crystalline being larger than Krell, spoke in a deep voice. "Your species has shown remarkable ability, this is true, but you stand in this chamber only because we allow it. The Council still commands vast forces." Hana smiled. "Does it? Dr. Park, please demonstrate." On cue, the lights in the chamber flickered. The main screen showed security feeds from across Council space. Human ships moved freely through major systems. Council defense stations stood dark, their systems compromised. "As we speak, human forces control 60% of your key strategic points," Hana continued. "Dr. Sue Park has installed backdoors in virtually every major Council system. Scientist Min Li has temporal weapons that could target anyone in this room." A murmur ran through the chamber. Many Council members shifted uncomfortably. "But we didn't come here to threaten you," Hana said, her voice softening slightly. "We came to offer a new way forward." She laid out humanity's terms. Earth would join the Galactic Council, but as a founding member of a new, restructured organization. The old hierarchy would be dismantled. All species would have equal representation. Technology would be shared, openly. And the practice of containment would be abolished forever. "This is outrageous," shouted one council member, a being with multiple eyes on stalks. "You would destroy 50,000 years of peace and order." "What peace?" Hana asked. Sharply, "The peace of domination? The order of fear? How many species have you contained? How many civilizations have you stunted because you feared what they might become?" Many council members remained silent, unable to deny the truth of her words. "Ambassador." Krell stood from his seat and moved to the center of the chamber to stand near Hana. His crystal form glowed with a new light. "In 50,000 years of council history," he said slowly, looking around at his fellow members, "we have never encountered a species like humans. They have accomplished in 1 year what most species couldn't in centuries." He turned to face the High Commander. "We feared they would outpace us eventually. We never imagined it would happen so quickly. And now we have a choice: adapt, as they do, or face extinction." "You suggest we surrender to them?" the High Commander asked angrily. "I suggest we learn from them," Krell replied. "Their capacity for adaptation, for individual thinking alongside collective action, for creativity in the face of overwhelming odds. These are qualities our civilization has lost over millennia of stability." More council members began to nod, seeing the wisdom in Krell's words. A vote was called. The debate lasted hours, but in the end, the result was clear. The Council would accept humanity's terms. A new galactic association would be formed, with Earth as a key member. As the treaty was signed, Captain Jun Kim stood at the back of the chamber, watching history unfold. He thought about the cost, the billions of lives lost, The cities destroyed. The colonies wiped out. Had it been worth it? Perhaps not. War was never truly worth its price. But as he watched human diplomats begin to work with council species, sharing ideas, building new connections, he saw the seeds of something better. The attack that had been meant to contain humanity had instead unleashed its potential across the stars. 1 century later, the galaxy was unrecognizable from what it had once been. Human ships traveled freely between star systems. Earth had been rebuilt, its cities now blending human and alien architecture in beautiful harmony. On hundreds of worlds, humans worked alongside former council species. Innovation flourished where once there had been stagnation. Exploration pushed into neighboring galaxies. And at the center of it all was the lesson learned from that first terrible year. That diversity of thought, the freedom to adapt and change, the right of all beings to chart their own course. These were the true strengths of civilization. Captain June Kim, now an old man serving as Earth's ambassador to a distant sector, often reflected on the irony. In trying to contain humanity, the Council had unleashed its full potential. And in doing so, they had saved not just humanity but themselves from the slow death of stagnation. The Galactic Council had attacked humans, and their worst nightmare had come true. But that nightmare had become a new dawn for the entire galaxy.